guys, here we go again with another of our Evolution Consulting market updates. This one being recorded on the 22nd of June, which I'm fairly certain is summer solstice. I could be wrong about that. The longest day of the year. About 10:30, so market just opened. Kind of an odd time for us to be doing one of these, but we haven't done one in a good long while, so we figured now would be good. And certainly since the last one of the info updates or market updates that we've done, there's quite a bit has happened. All right, and we mean that in a good way, of course. So we were kind of hard pressed to figure, one thing to do a market or an info update video on, and the glaringly obvious one was cryptocurrencies, guys. As the title's sake of this video would suggest, Bitcoin. Good God, the last time we did a Bitcoin, a dedicated Bitcoin cryptocurrency video, guys, we were talking about if and when, which we knew it would happen, but when would we see Bitcoin specifically trend higher than the spot price of gold? And since then, yikes, guys, we had a test of 3,000 on Bitcoin. And if by now, and I have no really more delicate way of putting this, if by now, those that are trading Bitcoin, those that have, before I go off on my mini rant there, those that have been following our trades in Switch and Signal, guys, you're welcome. Okay, we timed that very, very well, and one thing that we can say for sure is that in terms of the cryptocurrency market, for whatever reason, and this is one of those things that when you work with a program like Ultra and 4.0, it just kind of happens, and you're all very thrilled about it. It's just got a very good handle on Bitcoin. It really does. It's got a good handle on the Bitcoin market, and it really, the systems that we operate here have just been so freakishly accurate on Bitcoin, even with the buy and the sell stop orders and stuff like that. So we're extraordinarily proud of that, and we're actually quite a bit amazed. Maybe perhaps as amazed as some of you guys are, but. In terms of those that did subscribe to Switch and Signal, up until one more edition of that coming out, and then we're done with Switch and Signal, guys. We're done with Wirehouse. One more edition of that coming. Once again, those that purchased all the Grand Street Notes, guys, we will have all those available soon. We're just doing a bit of housekeeping here, getting everything squared away. We owe some folks, reports and research and stuff like that. So we're just getting all squared away, guys, before we move on to our next phase of development, which will not be public, as we mentioned. I don't know if you guys can tell from behind me here, but we moved some stuff around. We got actually kind of expanded the desk here a bit, and making room for some new hardware. We actually have a lot of new hardware. It's just not in shot here, but we're kind of we're still steaming along here. We're getting ready to build a whole new Ultra machine. We're actually in the middle of doing so now, so it's just a lot of stuff going on here, guys. So we've been obviously very quiet for a number of reasons, of which one is the fact that we really, with the exception of these videos and the Grand Street Notes guides and the podcast, because that's your only access to the research that we do. But nonetheless, I digress. Cryptocurrencies, guys. For those that followed the trading advice that we put in Switch and Signal, you guys are doing very well, and that's what we said Bitcoin is. It is a near-term pre-GER, global economic reset, a rational trade, and it's proving to be just that. It's working. I mean, some of you guys, if you were in at the 7 and 8 levels and 9 levels, and I mean, I know there's folks out there that bought Bitcoin at like freaking $12, but for purposes of our information share, those that are in at the 7 and 8s, guys, you're welcome. Like I said, Bombay Sapphire, the really dry stuff. I think it's called East, Bombay East. I'll take a bottle of gin as a thank you. But nonetheless, guys, sitting by the pool yesterday, working on, it might have been my third or my fourth Molson of the day, okay? I had a really interesting thought, okay? And that is when the inevitable happens, okay? And we've said Bitcoin, and we said it in our last appearance on Operation Freedom, Dr. Dave Janda's show, okay? We kind of said it in our kind of fast forward version of what to expect in the next year or two, that he the question that he presented us on the show, which was which asset classes are good for now, and which asset classes heading into the GER, pre-GER, and we tried to just, the music was already coming on, so we tried to stuff as much information into, a minute and a half as we possibly could, which, given the speed that I speak at, not as hard as you might think. But nonetheless, sitting by the pool yesterday, I kind of had a thought, and I went, what's going to happen when the inevitable happens, all right? And we'll talk about the inevitable before we talk about how much higher Bitcoin can go before the inevitable happens, okay? I kind of had a thought. I said, let's say, and I'm no fan of central bankers. I'm no fan of the Federal Reserve, but I don't complain about them because I know they're not going to survive the coming global reordering or the financial or civilization or paradigm reordering. They're just not going to, okay? A lot of things aren't going to survive the coming, financial reordering of the planet. It's just, it's a whole new world, so to speak. Welcome to a brave new world. But so I don't really, particularly complain about it. Certainly in the near term, they make for an easy target to bitch and whine about, and that's all fine. And I don't particularly agree with them. I really don't particularly care about them. I've talked about Fed irrelevance. We'll get to that in a minute. But I know, based upon the information that I've seen, that they're not going to survive the reordering of this planet. Okay. Be that, by a controlling force, or be that by just the natural evolution of a society becoming more and more global and integrated. It's just the Federal Reserve's obsolete. The concept of central banking is obsolete. But the point of the story, though, guys, is as such. Okay? So if a fiat currency poops the bed, all right? Pick one. It doesn't matter. They're all fiat at this point. There isn't a currency on the planet right now that's pegged to any sort of really tangible asset, so to speak. So let's just pick a random currency, U.S. dollar, for purposes of discussion. So the U.S. dollar craps the bed, right? And at that point in time, there's a chain of blame, shall we say, okay? So if the U.S. dollar craps the bed, you have the federal government. That's an easy target, right? You have the Federal Reserve. Excuse me. There is, you have, some of the larger international banks you could even look at, right? But the point of the story, though, is that if a fiat currency craps the bed, there's a logical chain of, all right, who effed up, all right? What about Bitcoin? Let's say in a vacuum of reality, Bitcoin goes to 50,000. Hell, you know what? Let's have fun here with this. We haven't done one of these videos in a while. Let's say Bitcoin goes to $100,000 a coin. What? Yeah, why not? Speculative. It's tulip bulbs in Amsterdam. It can go to, it's worth what people believe. It's worth what people believe it's worth, right? Let's say Bitcoin, for the hell of it, it goes to $100,000 a coin. It's a tremendous creation of wealth, right? Tremendous creation of financial wealth, I should say. So Bitcoin goes to $100,000 and then goes to zero, just like the tulip bulbs. If you guys haven't seen the tulip bulbs chart, I usually put it up in the edit. I'll probably do it again, just because it's kind of one of those stark reminders. Kind of like, I don't know if you can see the bottom corner of it up there, but I have my Weimar Republic Reichsmarks up there, and I have my $50 trillion Zimbabwe note as a constant and perpetual reminder that, yes, that poop does happen. Okay? But nonetheless, let's say Bitcoin goes to 100,000 and then to zero. All right, Bitcoin fanboys, who do you blame? I have not the answer to that question. You can't blame the exchange, right? It's just, it's a double-edged sword, guys, all right? And of course, the big deal with Bitcoin is, it's decentralized, it's this, it's that, and it's all very, kind of, I guess that's the appeal of it, is the fact that it's, we're off the grid, we're operating outside the realm of the central banker, and I'm sitting here going like, okay, we'll see how that works out for you. Like I said, they're not going to make it, all right? But the point of the story, though, is who do you blame? If there's that massive destruction of wealth, who do you blame for it? You're going to have Bitcoin accounts that are worth potentially hundreds of millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, depending upon how many institutions get involved. The Winklevoss brothers recently, of Facebook fame or infamy, kind of made infamous in the movie Social Network. They tried a Bitcoin ETF recently. That's going to happen, whether it be them or somebody else or some financial institution, be that a hedge fund or a possibly even a mutual fund at this point, guys. Though I would say more likely than not, a hedge fund would be pretty difficult to to kind of put together a Bitcoin mutual fund. I mean, it's not impossible, but it'd be very difficult. But you got to start somewhere first, and an ETF would be the lot, or an ETF or an institutional-based investment vehicle or investment product would be the place to do it. So the point of the story, though, guys, is and we forecasted this, I mean, in 2013, 2014, guys. I can remember our very early test of concept stuff, certainly our very early printed material, and we have it all time-stamped, which we're very thankful for. We kind of said this was going to happen. At some point in time, you're going to take this obscure cryptocurrency that exists on the very fringe of the finance community, and you're going to give it 100% gain, 200% gain, 300% gain. People are going to notice that. Institutions are going to notice that. And it's pretty common now, and I'm no fan of CNBC, guys, but you turn on any mainstream financial network, you go to any mainstream financial site, and Bitcoin's up there with, the price of oil, price of gold, equities, hot stocks, M&As. It's become part of mainstream financial culture. And as more people become aware of that, it's no longer the domain of the the tech nerd or the fringe economy type people. It's mainstream. It's an asset class. Like it or not, it's gotten commentary from guys like Mark Cuban, and I think even Clint Eastwood said something about it. And I almost fell out of my chair laughing when Mark Cuban recently came out and said something about it. He's like, it's the tulip bulbs in Amsterdam. And I almost keeled over laughing. I was like, do tell. But the point of the story, though, guys, as more people become aware of Bitcoin as a quote-unquote currency, which it is, okay? It's not money, but it is. It's a glorified online payment token, okay? The more liquidity is going to pour into Bitcoin, and that's where you're getting these ridiculous run-ups from it. It's not just in the United States. It's internationally. It is Japan. It is China. I'm sure it's Russia and India and South America, certainly. And we haven't even really seen the death rattles of fiat currencies yet. This is just speculation for the sake of speculation. Never mind when you pile, Bitcoin's a safe haven. It's better than gold, like that kind of thing. That's freaking famous last words right there. All right. But the point of the story, though, guys, is how high can it go? Don't know. Don't even want to present even. I mean, we've seen information that gives a range, and we're not going to share it because we're not that confident because we honestly don't know. It's an irrational, speculative bubble. Point of the story, though, is what happens when it goes to zero? Who do you blame? And, you don't have to be an economist, at least I don't think, but you do have to have a somewhat fundamental understanding of economics to understand just what a freaking booby trap Bitcoin is during a transference of wealth. It's, if you wanted it to just erase, potentially, again, institutions getting involved, wealthy individuals getting involved. If you wanted to just erase financial wealth, Bitcoin is the way to do it. Okay? I don't know how to put that any other way, and there isn't anybody to blame for it. And that's something that society that we live in now, we like to do that, don't we? Well, I don't. Hopefully our readers don't, but, everybody's going to blame somebody, right? And blame is just freaking pointless at this point, all right? There's consequences. That's way better than blame, all right? But in any case, guys, who do you, in the near term, for purposes of discussion, I mean, like I said, let's just say Bitcoin goes to 50 grand and then goes to zero. Who do you blame? Okay, so that decentralized thing, just don't forget, that works both ways. Because you're not going to blame the exchange. You're not going to blame, it's a peer-to-peer system, you see. Okay? So therein lies the conundrum, as they say. But guys, in terms of Bitcoin, in terms of the near term, it's a heck of a trade. It really is. And I sincerely hope that our readers that subscribe to Switch and Signal, or certainly bought our crypto podcast or listened to anything I've said for the last 5 years at this point, over 5 years, hopefully you guys made a whole butt ton of money. All right. And continue to do so. We're by no means, saying, in this video or in any of our print stuff, unload the position now. We get a ways to go before that yet. All right, because like I said, as more and more people start to get involved with Bitcoin, more and more people, it feeds the delusion that somehow Bitcoin is really money. And like I said, one of these days, wake up and Bitcoin's going to be worth zero or so close to it. It doesn't even warrant discussion. Okay, so at that point, We've often said, even with the tulip bulbs in Amsterdam, guys, the only thing that separated the winners and losers from that was timing. Okay, depending upon when you sold your tulip bulbs, you either made a fortune, or your tulip bulbs, went to zero. Okay, so point of the story, though, guys. Do be mindful of that. And, I'm going to answer a question that we're inevitably going to get more emails on. We've gotten a few emails on it. We've gotten a few questions already, which is, how high can Bitcoin go? And the answer is, I'm not going to give a number. We don't know. I've had discussions with the dev team as to potentially how high it can go. Some of the numbers, if you're a Bitcoin fanboy and you hear them, you're going to jump up and down and be very happy about it, because they're ridiculous. Even by my own analysis, I was like, I kind of looked at the results from Ultra and went, seriously? But again, it's a system by now I've learned not to question. Okay, improve always, but not doubt or question, because it's been right just so damn many times. Even the dev team is kind of gone, there's no way in hell that's going to happen, and it has. Okay, is it going to get one wrong every once in a while? Of course it is. It's working from a given linguistics pool, so called the internet. So there's that. But in terms of a proven track record and proven accuracy, guys, I've come to really respect it. And it's pretty cool considering I built it. Not just me personally. We had a lot of help, but it's been pretty wild. But guys, on the crypto front, it was just, there's so many things that we can pick from now. To do these update videos on. There's so many things, guys, that I can point to and say, told you so, haha, proven correct, as an example. The UK. Speaking of which, if anybody is watching this from the UK, guys, I know it is hot as hell over there, so stay cool. I have a pretty good friend of mine that's over in the UK, and he's like, they're printing the temperatures on the cover of the Daily Mail now in big digits, because it's just so ridiculously hot over there. So hopefully, if anybody from the UK is watching, hopefully you guys are staying cool over there. All right, but just as an example, in the UK, I had a conversation with somebody that lives over there, not too far from London. Hell of a nice guy, and he's like, he goes, Nick, it's getting ridiculous with like the terrorist attacks and stuff. And months and over a year ago, we said that there's going to come a point where there's these call for vengeance kind of things, and we saw that with the most recent London van mowing down of Muslim worshippers outside of a mosque after a couple of terror attacks. Guys, that's a preview. Okay, we forecasted this stuff. Like I said, 2013, 2014, 2015. Go back, listen to some of our old radio stuff. We mentioned it. Okay. In terms of a social dynamic on this planet, the divide, the division in society, it's continuing, all right? So that's not theory, all right? That's now pretty much been proven. But I can run down a list, since I've done the last market update videos of haha, told you so kind of stuff, all right? I'm just not gonna. It's not the business we're in, okay? At least anymore. But point proven, so to speak. But again, guys, in terms of the cryptos, in terms of the Bitcoin stuff, guys, just make sure you have the right mindset about it. Just understand that it's a near-term trade. It's no different than, really, I call it penny stock trading on speed. All right, just be mindful of that. It carries all the risk of a forex trade. It carries all the risk of a commodities trade. It carries all the risk of a penny stock trade. So that's certainly, if you're gonna trade that stuff, guys, do please make sure it's with like play money, where if you lose it, your life isn't going to change. All right, and that's just a responsible thing to do. Again, we're not bound by fiduciary responsibility there. That's just me wanting to see our customers do stuff properly. All right, so do be mindful of that. All right, and like I said, by the way, speaking of, we did this, doing this video today. Last night, you had the was it the Ethereum or whatever that's called, flash crash down to like $13 or something ridiculous like that. And it's just proof, guys. It's like, man, it's like if there was ever a reminder, there it is. Like I said, it's an unregulated market. Just be aware of the fact that that does work both ways. All right, because ultimately what's going to happen, guys, like it or not, bitch, whine, complain, wishful thinking, don't really care, all right, is that the net end result of the reordering of this planet financially, guys, is going to be a unified global one world currency. And you can reference it in theological terms all you want, and I personally don't care, but it is the product of the increased speed of information and globalization of this planet, and the intertwining of international economies. It's time for a unified means of fair economic transaction, guys. And like I said, I mentioned it on Dr. Jad Show, and I'm going to end this video with the quote that I used there. I said, you can put me in the the UN General Assembly room, Okay, and bet me a bottle of gin, all right, that all I have to do is get all the heads in the room nodding in one direction at the same time. Just have to do it one time, just a whole room full of this. Okay, it's an old sales term we used to use. If you can get the head nodding up and down, you got a better chance of making sale. Fair enough, happens to work. But if I had to do that in a UN meeting, guys, or some international meeting at a G20 or something like that, and I had all these different cultures and these world leaders that come from, dramatically different cultures, different societies, I dare say, different ideologies, different methodologies and philosophies in their approach to economics, the one thing, the ace in, the ace up the sleeve, so to speak, that I would do to win my bottle of gin there is very simple. All right, guys, can we all agree that gold and silver is valuable? Gold and silver is money, and if there was one way to get all the heads in the room nodding up and down at the same time, guys, that's the way to do it. So you can imagine. I know that's kind of a facetious example, okay, but you can kind of imagine what we're getting at with that statement, which is, after a major implosion of currency and after a major implosion of one, perhaps more fiat, okay, U.S. dollars and even the Chinese yuan at this point, okay, whatever that may be. Whichever fiat goes first, even the euro dollar at this point, okay? The fact that Le Pen didn't win the French election doesn't mean the EU is saved. It just means its demise has been prolonged slightly longer. For purposes of discussion, guys, you can just imagine in an environment of a single or probably multiple fiat currency implosion, guys, that the sheer shock value of that alone is okay, guys. We got to start somewhere. Can we all agree that gold is money, silver is money? Yes, okay. And the heads in the room are nodding up and down in the same direction. All right. So for those of you that operate under the horribly misguided delusion, and guys, I've done a lot of research on Bitcoin now, which I probably should have done a long time ago, but there is a whole hell of a lot of disinformation out there, and please be mindful of it. Okay, a lot of it is irrational and ideologically driven. It's down with the banksters, and Bitcoin's going to be the next thing. It's it makes for a great internet post, but at the same time, you got to be logical about it. Okay, so the idea that entire countries and are going to have their entire balance sheet somehow in Bitcoin, it's like, no. Hilariously enough, I mean, there's articles circulating that Russia's working on its own cryptocurrency, and I said, they want to be able to launder money without having to worry about the instability of the Bitcoin market, or they want to be able to transfer their funds, for the same reason, I think truly wealthy people use Bitcoin. It's just a matter of ease of transaction over international borders, in which, I mean, I don't want to call it money laundering because that's illegal, but, it certainly, it facilitates far easier transaction, and why shouldn't Russian billionaires have access to their own little contained system in which to do that? It's fabulous. So there's that. But again, like I said, you see these countries amassing heaps of gold. They're not doing that because, well, hell, we piled up all this gold. We spent a fortune in engineering, an economy and economic movement such that we can amass this fortune and this pile of gold so we can go use frickin' Bitcoin. I mean, it just, pardon the pun, but pop out from under the ether for a second, okay? But with that said, guys, this is we're coming up on 22 minutes here, guys. As always, I do want to say a sincere thank you to our readers, listeners, and followers. Okay, as we come up on this, what is ultimately the end of our public information sharing, again, with the exception of a few options, these market update videos being one of them. All right, as we move forward with a lot of the flagship projects, that we've kind of been building this system for. We're pretty excited here. We're ultimately thankful for our 5 years worth of readers, listeners, and subscribers, and haven't agreed with all you guys all the time, and that's okay. Certainly don't mind any disagreement as long as it's done in a somewhat intellectually advanced fashion, so that's cool. But at the same time, guys, as we're moving forward, again, sincere thanks, and I don't put that any other way. Just thank you very much to those that that have watched that watch this. Okay, I know, I know our subscriber base is a fraction of what some other folks in alternative media, and I don't even like to use that word because we just try to tell it the way it is. We don't have a side. We're not conservative. We're not liberal. Okay, it's just we exist beyond that, certainly. We'd like to think that our evolution readers, listeners, and subscribers have figured that out by now, at the very least. But again, a very sincere thanks, guys. Really. Want to contact us? Email info@somewhere over there. It is over there somewhere. There it is. It still works. Nice. Info at evolutionconsulting.world, info at evolutionconsulting.world. Okay, by the way, if you guys do want custom research, portfolio analyses, specific research commissioned for an individual client or customer, you guys are more than welcome to email us, and we will let you know how much that will cost, how much time it'll take, etc., etc. And that is provided we actually have the time to do said research, okay, which for the time being we do. Okay, and that's we kind of mix it in with our other stuff that we're working on, which is it keeps us busy. All right, and that's pretty much it. Oh, by the way, I almost forgot. Huge congratulations to the Pens. Yeah, I got one of those. 2017 Stanley Cup champions. As you know, that is Evolution Consulting's adopted home city. So they're 2 in a row, guys. They got 2 more to go before they tie the Islanders record of 4 in a row. I'm pretty sure that's the record. It could be. I'm fairly certain. If I'm wrong, somebody put that in the comments down there. But the Canadians might have 5, but that would have been back when there were like 6 teams in the league. But I'm pretty sure the Islanders still hold the record in the 80s with the dynasty. So congratulations to the Pittsburgh Penguins. As you might imagine, Pittsburgh did go fairly berserk when they won, which is cool, as this is certainly a sports city. So big ups, thumbs up to the Pens. All right, guys, thanks as always for watching. And do remember that despite what you've been told, despite what you may believe, and despite what you may wish for, everything really is a transaction.